Race ban for the F1 drivers. 2 drivers are at risk of a race ban from one of the final 4 events of the season. As the 2022 Formula One World Championship draws ever closer to an end, it's that time of the year when the penalty points are looked into to discover who is at risk of a potential race ban before the end of the season. So, who is going to be banned from the coming race, and what will happen in the final 4 events of the season? Let's dig deeper into it. The penalty point system sees drivers awarded points based on rule breaks, with 12 points being needed to achieve a race ban. The system was introduced in 2014 in a bid to make racing cleaner. However, penalty points appear to be awarded occasionally for truly bizarre reasons. Junior categories also use the penalty point system, with Alpine junior driver Ollie Caldwell having been banned from the Belgian Grand Prix in Formula 2 and Aymeric Cordial having been banned from the British Grand Prix. Whilst drivers in junior categories have reached 12 penalty points, no Formula One driver has ever reached the limit. However, 2 are dangerously close to being awarded a 1-race suspension. One of the drivers at risk probably doesn't come as a surprise, with Yuki Tsunoda currently sitting on 8 points with 4 races remaining. The Japanese driver has been on his best behavior seemingly since FP2 at the Italian Grand Prix, where he was awarded with his most recent penalty points, making him the top of the leaderboard in F1 for the most penalty points. He will see his total reduced in the middle of November, with points lasting 12 months. His teammate Pierre Gasly is interestingly the other driver at risk of a race ban after being awarded 2 points at last weekend's Japanese Grand Prix for speeding under red flag conditions. The Frenchman sits on 7 points, but was initially on 9 following Japan. However, 2 of his points expired due to them having been awarded a year ago. Gasly's awarded points at Suzuka are somewhat controversial, with all the drivers having seemingly hit out at the FIA for allowing a recovery vehicle onto the circuit, something which appeared to spook the AlphaTauri driver. Whilst the AlphaTauri duo are at the top of the penalty points leaderboard, 3 drivers are joint bottom on 0 points. Sir Lewis Hamilton, Carlos Sainz, and Mick Schumacher are all part of the 0 points club, making them the best behaved drivers on the grid. If we talk about Lewis Hamilton, 2 drivers may face F1 race ban before 2022 season finishes, but Lewis Hamilton's safe. Lewis Hamilton is one of 3 drivers without any penalty points on his license ahead of the F1 run-in. Lewis Hamilton will not be in danger of being handed a race ban between now and the end of the current F1 season, although 2 drivers could be at risk of accumulating the required 12 penalty points if they fail to clean up their acts. The point system, which was introduced by the FIA in 2014, sees drivers penalized for breaking the rules and aims to prevent consistent breaches by taking into account any offenses within the last 12 months. Drivers can eventually be banned for 1 Grand Prix if they receive 12 points in a single year, although this has never happened in F1 in the years since the system was brought in. The limit has been reached by some in Formula 2 though, with Alpine junior Ollie Caldwell missing this year's event at Spa just weeks after Aymeric Cordial was suspended for the Silverstone round. Yuki Tsunoda currently has the highest number of penalty points on the F1 grid with 8, and will face a ban if he picks up 4 more before the end of the year. His most recent penalty came during FP2 at the Italian Grand Prix, when he failed to slow for yellow flags, and he will need to wait until mid-November for any of his points to expire. Pierre Gasly, meanwhile, sits in second place with 7 points, despite briefly moving up to 9 after speeding under red flag conditions at the Japanese Grand Prix. However, the 2 points he received for causing a collision with Lance Stroll at last year's Brazilian Grand Prix expired the very next day, which saw his tally drop back down to 7. Further down the order, Alex Albon is the only driver on 6 points, ahead of Esteban Ocon and newly crowned world champion Max Verstappen, who are both on 5. Fernando Alonso, Daniel Ricciardo, and Zhou Guanyu all have 4 points as things stand, with Nicholas Latifi, Lance Stroll, and Kevin Magnussen are 1 rung further down the ladder on 3 each. Sergio Perez, Sebastian Vettel, and George Russell currently have 2 points on their respective FIA licenses, with the latter receiving both of his after causing a collision with Perez at this year's Austrian Grand Prix. Charles Leclerc, who initially looked set to challenge for the Drivers' Championship title but quickly ran out of steam, is one of 3 drivers on a single point alongside Valtteri Bottas and Lando Norris. 3 more can boast a clean slate, with Hamilton joining Mick Schumacher and Carlos Sainz on the list of the best-behaved drivers on the grid. It remains unlikely that any driver will receive a race ban before the season draws to a close, although the AlphaTauri duo of Tsunoda and Gasly would appear to be the most likely candidates at this stage. There are now just 4 races left until the end of the year, with F1 set to travel to Austin next weekend for the return of the United States Grand Prix. Although the Drivers' Championship title has already been wrapped up, there are still scores to be settled away from top spot and in the Constructors' Championship, with Ferrari and Mercedes only separated by a margin of 67 points behind runaway leaders Red Bull. Another news regarding this ban is that ex-F1 racer slams FIA for silly decision. An incident-filled Japanese Grand Prix left a bad taste in the mouth of many F1 fans. While Formula One continues to take steps forward on the racetrack, it has become the opinion of F1 driver turned pundit David Coulthard that there is still work to be done with regards to giving the fans a fair sporting experience to enjoy. The Scot has become frustrated with the communication between the FIA, the teams, and the commercial rights holders, stating that better communication among them is the way to serve our fans. "Sometimes we have been waiting hours to get a result from the stewards," said Coulthard. "When the whistle blows at full time in a football match, there's no appeals afterwards about the results. That's it." The discussion was sparked by a somewhat controversial and confusing Japanese Grand Prix, where Max Verstappen and Red Bull seemed convinced they needed more points to secure the Drivers' Championship, with the Dutchman only being told in the cooldown room that he had officially retained the title. Yes, what happened after the race keeps people engaged and gives us all something to talk about, but in pure sporting terms, it's bad, argued Coulthard. People switched off their televisions and computers all around the world last week and went to bed before the official result was announced. That can't be right. He continued, yes, there has to be an appeals process. If an engine was outside of the regulations, that can be taken up afterwards. It's not a sporting issue. The race itself was not also without incident, with the delayed start still going ahead despite the clear indication that rain would continue. We are in the entertainment business. Last week, we knowingly sat waiting for the tide to go out before the boat was launched. We knew the rain was coming. That was a bit silly. In a year in which the quality of racing has improved dramatically as a result of the new regulations, Coulthard hopes that the decision-making by those involved in regulating the sport can match the standards being set by the stars on the racetrack to give the fans the fair entertainment they desire. Tell us your thoughts about all this in the comment section. Well, that's it from this video. We hope you enjoyed this video. If you'd like to see more of our content, please subscribe to our channel. We're so glad to have you here with us today, and we look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye-bye.